just getting back from home time, and I'm kind of stressing because it's getting late. It's already 7 p.m. and I really need to get up by 3:30 at the latest tomorrow morning so I can start earlier, and it'll be the first time since I started training at the new job last week that I will have gotten up that early, and my brain is not at all attuned to that. Like, I've been sleeping until at least like 6:30 every day, pretty much. Well, maybe like today I got up at 5:45, caught the sunrise by the lake. You know, I love doing that. And then took some time to put some makeup on today just for fun, and thinking, you know, I'll do some cool makeup, I'll take some video. And then as time got later and later, I'm like stressing more and more. I'm like, I gotta call my mom. We always talk on Sundays. I haven't called her yet. She's gonna be wondering what's going on. And I was gonna go to a truck stop down the road so I could take a quick shower and wash my face, which I can technically clean all this off without doing that, but it would be much more pleasant to do that in an actual shower. So anyway, I'm kind of rambling, but just getting ready to start a new week, and still having some anxiety because everything is a little bit different at this company. The support on the back end is really different. I think basically because you have so many more very experienced drivers working where I work now versus the last two companies I was at were training companies. There's a lot more independence, which is one of the major draws for me. You know, going to a company like this, I wanted to work for a company where I would be able to make more decisions for myself about things like where I stop to fuel and just how I run my days, basically. It's also a little bit nerve-wracking because there's not always someone who's really available when you call. Like, I tried to call after hours last week on Friday night, which was at like 8:15. So they basically go off the clock, I guess, by 8, I think, or maybe a little earlier than that. The person I got did not seem ready to answer the phone. Let me just say it like that. They were sort of like, hello. And I was like, I thought I had called the wrong number, and I was like, is this dispatch? And he's like, yeah. And I was kind of freaking out because I was running into I was trying to use the split sleeper berth. By the way, I don't know if you can hear that noise in the background. There's a noise that comes from the dash. I don't know what it is, but it's super annoying. Someone has told me what it was in the past, but it's driving me crazy. I'm still getting used to this whole APU thing because before I was always running opti idle, and I'm a person who is very neurotic and sensitive to sounds or lack of sounds. So like, I'll keep turning the fan on just so I can have the noise, but then it gets too cold. But if I turn the heat on, it gets too hot. I can't get the temperatures right. I just feel like, man, let me see how this light is because I feel like I need it on. There we go. I'm not very good at adjusting right off the bat to like different sensory types of things. I'm super sensitive to light and sound, and it's just that highly sensitive person thing, man. It feels good to say it. So anyway, there's a couple of different topics that I've been wanting to get into in videos, and I was thinking about doing that tonight, and I'm just like, man, I really want to get more in depth than I feel ready for at this moment, because I need to not be recording right now. I need to be getting settled in and doing some trip planning for tomorrow and getting on things. And it's just, that's how it is when you're trying to transition into a new job and a new truck, and the weekend goes by too fast, because how dare you try to spend time with your friends and family. I had a really nice evening though with my really good friend. We hung out, my former roommate, who I go to see as often as I can because I just love him, and we always have a nice time chilling, and he listens to me ramble about trucking things and never seems bored, which is impressive. Just telling him about everything, all the big transitions, and we had sushi and we watched Family Guy, and it was great. It was a really perfect kind of evening. I really want to make a video talking about being a nicotine-free trucker. That's one that's been sort of percolating in my mind for a long time, because I think I might have some helpful information, I guess, but it's a really tough subject, and I think it's hard for me to talk about certain things that I worry could come across as like someone feeling like I'm being, how do I want to put it, not elitist, but like I think less of somebody because they use nicotine, and I never want it to come across that way. The lighting is bothering me. I need to put this ambient light on, and then I have to dim it because it can't be full power, because that would be weird. You guys, I'm very, very particular about stuff. It's just my nature. So yeah, I am gonna make that video when I get around to it. And then the other video that I've been talking about but putting off forever is I really want to make a video for new drivers, talking about my experience and the things I've learned after a year of driving. And I keep thinking about this phrase, which I might still use in that video. My dad, some of the stuff, the dadisms from my childhood, and one of the things that he used to be fond of saying, usually when he was like really mad and there was yelling involved, was something like, you know, what you know, I could fit in the tip of my pinky and still have room for the Rock of Gibraltar. And I didn't know what the Rock of Gibraltar was, but I didn't need to. I just knew that that meant that he thought I didn't know anything. And of course, as a kid, you're like, I know everything. I know. How dare he? No. That's what I think of when I think of what I know about trucking. I know very little about trucking in the grand scheme, because, you know, it's one of those things that you never stop learning, and that's one of the things I love so much about it. It's just, it's an adventure, kind of scary and stressful sometimes, and sometimes it's infuriating, and sometimes it's really boring, and sometimes I feel like I want to crawl out of my skin because I am so physical, and sitting still makes me absolutely nuts. Another thing I've been wanting to do on that note is try to push myself into getting into more of a physical exercise type of routine, or an exercise routine, with some super simple short duration exercise stuff that I would do, you know, say daily or 3 times a week or whatever it was, using some really small like equipment that doesn't take up very much space and body weight, because I've always been a huge fan. I was a personal trainer for 9 years, so I have a lot of information in my brain about that stuff. And I have always been a huge fan of calisthenics, body weight exercise, basic mobility exercises that you can do literally anywhere. That said, truck stops are not literally anywhere, in my personal opinion, because a lot of times they're very dirty. And for me personally, as a woman traveling solo, I don't like to do things that draw too much attention to myself. I know that's funny to say that with this makeup on. But in a truck stop space outside my truck, I'm pretty cautious about what I do, because there's randos that film things and put it on the internet. There's predators that are very real, and every time I say this, I feel inclined to say I listen to Morbid, and you should listen to Morbid, especially if you're a female traveling alone. It's a very dangerous world out there, and I tend to be naive because I like to see the best in people and think the best in people, but unfortunately there are a lot of very, very dangerous people in this world, and they walk among us and they seem really normal, maybe even friendly and cool, you know? So that's weird, but it's real. Anyway, I'm totally rambling at this point. So I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you're having a good day, whatever's going on with you. This might be part of a video. I don't think it'll be a standalone. It's too short. But anyway, I hope you like my makeup. I like doing this dark, kind of gothy, bad bitch kind of look. That's what I call it. And, you know, rocking some Guns N' Roses. This is one of my old bartending t-shirts, which I like cut and re-sewed because I'm very cool, as you can tell. Talk to you later. All right, guys, I got to show you the current situation because it's kind of funny. So let's see, how can I explain this? So here's the area that I had to back up from through a swamp, you might notice. And then when I go to back in, the guy tries to tell me, he's like, okay, make sure that your front end is facing to, and I completely forgot this note, make sure your front end is facing to the right of that mailbox. I completely blew that off. And don't go in that lady's driveway because she will call the police. I was like, oh man. Okay, so this spot, let me see if I can kind of show it to you. I don't know if I can show it to you without showing you more than I would like to show you. So that's where I had to back in. That doesn't really tell you a whole lot, I guess. But this dock also, this guy's got a toughie to get into too. And each of these docks has a little stairwell next to it, so I can kind of show you that in my rear view mirror. You can see here, see that little stairwell directly where I had to park, you know. This building, or actually the brick building there, was built in the 1800s. When you walk in, there's like this really cool old wood floor. There's like a little fireplace in there and stuff, and it's like just really old. And the guy told me in there that they moved that building from down the road by horse-drawn carriage, like, you know, 100 years ago or something like that. It's pretty, well, more than 100 years now, I guess. Wow, what generation am I in? Anyway, so yeah, I don't know if I can show this if it makes sense, right? But one of the challenging things when you're trying to back a truck is, notice, so if I'm holding this straight in line with my tractor, look at the angle I'm facing relative to the road in front of me. But when you're driving a truck, and when you're backing a truck, you use visual cues that you have like a sort of almost automatic drive to follow. So your brain, I think this is probably common, your brain wants to aim that way because you're like, well, I need to be perpendicular to the road. But the dock is not perpendicular to the road. The dock is facing this way. So every time I really struggle to get in a dock door, it's usually that type of situation. And the guy warned me. He's like, okay, it's a really tough one to get into. And I was like, I got this. Never say that. I know this. Never say that. You're telling the universe to stick it to you, you know? So, yeah. He was like, oh no, let me just tell you. And then sure enough, I thought I had it, but my front end was to the left of the mailbox. So he's like, you're at the complete wrong angle. And I was like, really? I was like, let me get out here and look. So I jumped across the swamp and stood and faced the dock door, and I still couldn't tell that I was that far off, but apparently I was way off. And it's funny because, like, if you were to go inside the building, you could probably easily see the specific way that you're off, so they can't get the dock plate onto the trailer or something like that. So I'm pretty tired, but it's a really beautiful day. Wow, is it beautiful. I love northern Wisconsin. It's so pretty up here. And I'm going to be headed down to Missouri. Not my most favorite place to go, but I'm sure it'll be fine. No need to complain. This is another weird little side note. Okay, a couple things I want to tell you about this truck before I forget. So some of you will probably be familiar with this. With these newer Cascadias, there's a feature that I really don't like, and I think it's like a not great safety thing. Like I would like to have it modified if I had a choice, which is the turn signal. Now, if you drive cars and you don't drive trucks, you wouldn't know this, but when I first started driving trucks, this threw me off. When you hit the turn signal in a truck, you have to turn it off manually. It'll stay on, and that's because you're in a vehicle that is towing a vehicle that's going to be at a different angle for some period of time when you're taking a turn. So you need that. You don't want it to shut off when the tractor has completed the turn because the trailer may not have. You need that turn signal to I leave my turn signal on for the whole duration of a turn, the whole duration of a lane change, with a few seconds on either end of it, because I want to over communicate to the people around me what I'm about to do, you know, just for safety. So this truck turns off the turn signal after the tractor completes the turn, and the trailer's still making the turn. I don't know why they would change that. I don't like it. And if you try to put it back on, it'll like self-turn off again. So I just got to get used to like turning it back on repeatedly, I guess. I'm surprised that they made that feature. Another thing is I'm struggling even more than usual to back into docks and straighten out correctly because the steering is so good on this tractor, and I think it's just that it's newer, it's smoother, and it's much easier to oversteer because of that. It's just different. So I just got to adjust to that. So I'm really looking like a newbie out here. And then having issues. Oh, my seat, I don't know if you probably can't see it at all, but when I first got in this seat, I noticed right away it sits at an angle like this. So my left hip is higher than my right hip, and I'm like, I'm gonna need to I'm not gonna ask them to fix it because I'm not gonna do anything non-essential, but I'll just have to put a bolster under the right side of my hip because that's not good for your back to ride on a weird angle for hours. I don't know why it would be like that. It's really weird, but maybe if I have them look at something else at some point, I'll ask them to take a look at it. It's kind of weird, but I said weird a couple of times. That's enough times. It's enough taping, enough video. Catch you later.